Good evening, everyone. It's 7 o'clock, so we'll get started. I call this meeting to order and we'll open with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And before you sit down, if we could observe a brief period of silence in honor of the anniversary of 9/11 yesterday. Ms. Grigg, would you call the roll, please?
Yes. Councilperson Suzanne Souter.
Present.
Councilperson Joseph Day.
Present.
Councilperson Norman Zabaka.
Present.
Councilperson Andrew Zell.
Present.
Also present are Mayor Valerie Leary,
Yes.
City Clerk Courtney Taylor, Chief of Police Richard McCabe, City Solicitor Max Walton. You got it on.
Okay, thank you. We're gonna change the sequence of things on the agenda around a little bit. We have some guests, and there's no point in them having to sit through our whole meeting. So after we do the minutes, we'll have the report from our tourism director. But first, we have minutes from 3 meetings, August 8th regular meeting, the August 21st special meeting, and the August 28th special meeting. Are there any corrections or additions to those minutes? Okay, do I have a motion to approve the 3 minutes?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Okay, Ms. Crawford? We're trying something a little different tonight. We moved the podium, hoping that by not having speakers back to the audience, you'll be able to hear better. But we have to balance it with being able to pick up the recording that the clerk is doing. So we'll see how this goes. This is Sarah Crawford, who is our tourism director, and she's going to give us a report of what she's been doing so far.
So good evening, everyone. So as I said, I'm Sarah Crawford. I am the new director of tourism. I'm just going to give you a brief overview on what I've been working on. Only been in this space for about a month or so. So I have been working on a marketing plan based on research that I've done for the specific area on things that we can work on, also doing a SWOT analysis, strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Also developing new ideas and partnership collaboration with some of the surrounding areas. So I've been, and I'll talk about this just a little later, but talking to hotels and different organizations who are looking to either host things in this area or wanting to partner with some of the established businesses that are here, and just trying to grow the area, not only revenue-wise, but also visibility-wise. Also, I've been working on a social media plan. So that's going to take me to me talking about social media. We did have a Facebook page and we got locked out. So fighting with Facebook is very hard. So I'm still corresponding with them, trying to get access to the original page so that we can still correspond with the individuals who were linked to that page. However, in the meantime, I have started a new page and I am kind of building that out, making sure that all the social media platforms are talking to each other so the information is going straight across the board consistently. We are also talking about doing a monthly or bi-monthly email blast that will discuss the things that are going on in the area, as well as also promoting some of the things that local businesses are doing. So I'm right now working on that, as well as comparing what platform is going to be best and is going to suit our needs best. I'm looking at the metrics as well for social media, for some of the other pages that are for this area, not our page, but other people can create pages. So looking at the metrics and also looking at the demographic on how we can also maintain the demographic we have and grow to, bringing some other demographics in, some younger people and things of that nature in, a different age group. And also talking about cross-marketing. So cross-marketing goes back to what I was speaking with earlier, about going to those hotels and these organizations and how we can all kind of work together, for the greater good. So communication and outreach, I've been doing weekly meetings, with Mr. Barthel, who is not present with us tonight, on what his expectation is and my findings and things of that nature. My meetings have been going very well with some of the hotels, downtown. I thought that was a great place to start since the riverfront, if you walk the entire path, it kind of end up in Old Newcastle. So, they're very excited about that potential partnership and speaking more about the offerings that we have here in their space as well. I am working on some graphics and things so that they'll have something tangible to give guests when they come to visit. I've met with, Newcastle Historic Society and the Reed House. We had a great meeting about some of the things that are done in the area, as well as some of the things that they would like to see, and asking, questions on how they can better promote their businesses, better promote offerings. We didn't nail down all the specifics, but we are going to continue to go into these conversations open mind and work together and see if we can, grow those presence. One of the other things that we talked about doing was reaching out to the Tom Martin Nickel Foundation about their call ships, so that when the season is over, and even when the season is not over, we can make sure that we have another, I'll just call it an activation here, and when they're coming and when they're not coming. Me and Mr. Barthel also talked about some of the surrounding areas that they had any boats or, tours that will be able to come here as well. I'm still in research of that. Local events, I've been seeing them online. One of the things that I haven't been able to do, is really, be in town more often, but I am looking to do that in the next coming week. So I can walk around and talk more to the business owners and kind of see what their feeling is, because they're right here. And some of the things that they want to work on and some of the things they want to see and how I can aid them and support them in that way. So that's kind of overview everything I'm doing. So does the council have any questions, comments?
Questions from council members?
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for coming in.
Oh, yeah.
We appreciate it.
Questions?
Oh, yes, the mayor has a question.
Sorry, thank you.
No
It
problem.
sounds like you've been doing quite a bit. Just a couple little things. Are you aware the city has branding already to use?
Not exactly.
Okay,
Logo, other than logo, no.
we have a large branding package that can be provided to you.
Okay.
Okay. You mentioned you're reaching out to other hotels and stuff. We do have some places here, the Terry House and some really nice Airbnbs that are here and being advertised.
Okay.
And as for the Facebook, and we can talk offline about this, the log on for the original city Facebook was left by the former person, so we can work on getting that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Crawford. All right, Ms. Carlin. Hi.
This is the recommended treasurer's report as of August 31st, 2023. Total unrestricted funds, $10,219,179.02. Total restricted funds, $2,849,639.86. Total cash and accounts, $13,068,819.78. And there were 2 we're not very hard to dismiss it, so I have no, things to add to that regarding the budget.
Okay, I think at least Mr. Sabaka had a question. I'm not sure about other members. Go ahead.
I just had a question about delinquent tax collection that jumped, right? We budgeted 12,000, but we have collected 22 already. So was that just like one large account or was it just something else going on? I'm just curious.
Actually, last month I mentioned that we were slow in collecting the taxes, and it was because of the certain thing. This is actually on target. Last year we were at 84%.
Oh, sorry, I'm talking about a line, delinquent tax collection. But thank you for adding to that as well, because I know Mr. Day was asking about that last time, yes.
I can't give you an answer.
Okay, thank you.
I can check that. And get back.
Thank you so much, appreciate it.
Okay, and then this is another shift in the sequence of events. We're gonna have Ms. Carla followed by the auditor, Frank DeBroga, who's with Lisbon and Giordano, conducted the audit of the city's accounts for fiscal years 21 and 22. Where's your?
Okay, my name is Frank Proda with Giordano County Firm, and I was appointed responsible for the audit for June 30th, 2022. We'll start out just by reviewing the opinion, independent auditor's report. Basically, for transparency, the opinion is now put in front of the report. This is the most important part of the opinion. The opinion is actually 4 pages long, so standards have changed to emphasize the importance of the opinion. So basically states that we have audited the financial statements of government activities. So that's the financial statements on the full accrual basis of the town. If they want government to act like businesses and account for everything properly. Each major fund, so you have various funds, you have general funds, special revenue funds, state funds, federal funds, different funds, and all the other remaining fund information. As of for the year ended June 30th, 2022 and 2021, and related notes to the financial statements, we collectively comprise the financial statements. The second paragraph basically states, in our opinion, the government financial statements present fairly in all material respective financial position of the government activity, each major fund, and aggregate remaining fund information as of June 30th, 2022 and 2021, in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. What you have here is what we call an unmodified opinion, clean opinion, and this is the type of audit report that every government would like to see. Okay. The next paragraph talks about the basis for our opinion. It states that we conducted our audit according to audit standards generally accepted in the United States of America and standards applicable to financial audits contained in the government auditing standards. So this year we did some additional testing because we received some COVID money, ARPA money. You received about $2.9 million during the year. $2.9 million was spent. So because of that, there was some additional compliance testing we had to do, making sure that the government spent money according to the grant guidance. Okay, so that's kind of new this year compared to prior years. In addition to that, as auditors, we're required to be independent of the city and meet professional ethical requirements, which we did. And finally, the paragraph states we believe that our audit evidence we obtained provides sufficient and appropriate evidence for our audit opinion. The next paragraph talk about the responsibility of management of the financial statement. So basically, city's management is responsible for preparation and fair presentation of the financial statement. Okay, so these are your financial statements. We basically audit the numbers that you provide to us. And management is also responsible to maintain the internal controls, design and implementation of internal controls, make sure you have proper checks and balances. In addition to that, something new is the organization is required to make sure that the government is going to be in existence from the year from receiving this report. Okay, so that the going concern that basically get the reader a more pleasant feeling that you'll be in existence a year from now. And there's nothing to indicate that you're not going to be in existence from the year from that. The next section talks about our responsibility. It says our objectives are to obtain reasonable assurance about whether the financial statements as a whole are free from material misstatements, whether due to fraud or error, and to issue our audited report. Okay? So again, it's reasonable assurance, it's not absolute assurance, we do your internal controls, we do various testing, but there's still a likelihood that fraud could have taken place, but we're not aware of it. In performing the audit in accordance with gas and government auditing standards, we're required to do certain things. In the past, we've always done these, but again, for transparency purposes, they wanted to put them in the report. So as part of the audit, we're required to exercise professional judgment and take professional skepticism. We're required to look at risk of material misstatement and do the internal control, but not to offer an opinion on an internal control. If we were to do that, that would be a separate engagement. We're responsible to evaluate the accounting policies, making sure they're reasonable and in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And then finally, we also need to determine whether the organization will be in existence a year from now, which there's no evidence to say that it will be. Throughout the audit, we constantly communicate with management. We go over the timing of the audit, plan audit scope, things of that nature. In addition, there are various supplemental information included in the audit. There's some pension disclosures for the last 7 years history. That's in here. There's also some supplemental information regarding the different funds, breaking out each of the different funds. This year, there are actually probably about 5 to 7 new funds that the organization has records on. And then because of the federal funds, we're required to issue internal control report. So again, this is a clean report. Just kind of give you an overview of the financial statements. So when you look at your financial statement, your current assets for 2022 were $10.5 million compared to 8.2, so a significant increase of about $2.3 million. Your liabilities this year were $1.6 million compared to about $3 million last year, so again, decrease in liability, which is good. So you can see your current ratio, your current asset divided by your current liability is very healthy compared to prior years. Okay, if you look at your net assets that are remaining after you take the current assets minus liability, you're at $42 million, and that's up by $4.5 million from 2021. Okay, so significant increase from 2021. Now, some of you might say, well, you got this increase because of the COVID funds, but if you back out the COVID funds of 2.9, you still have 1.6, which is very healthy. Okay, compared to the prior year, you were at about 1.4, 1.5. So pretty consistent from year to year, keep backing out those COVID funds. Again, your revenues for the year were up $4.5 million, as I stated. Just to point out from your general fund, when you look at the governmental funds, your government funds they increased $3.6 million compared to $445,000 in the prior year. So again, if you back out the $2.9 million, you're still at $700,000 compared to $445,000. So you're up $255,000 at that. Finally, looking at all the government funds. When you continue through the rest of the financial statements, the notes to the financial statements basically give the reader a little better understanding of what some of the policies are of the government. There are no new notes that we added, basically they're consistent with last year. There's some of the numbers have changed. There's no new disclosures or notes to point out. Just like to bring your attention in the back, there is a supplemental schedule where we show how the general fund did for the year versus the budget. Okay, so when you compare the budget for 2022 was at $3.8 million, and the actual result came in at $7.7 million. So you were a positive $3.9 million, and even if you back out the 2.9 COVID funds that came in, you were still $1 million favorable over your budget, which is good. Your expenses were $5.2 million budget. You actually came in at 4.8, so again, a favorable variance of almost $400,000. Okay, so for the year, you had a positive $4.2 million in excess of what was originally budgeted. And again, if you back out the COVID money of 2.9, right about 1.3. So again, shows that you had a good, healthy year for 2020. Also, as part of the audit, there were some recommendations that we made to management. We have reviewed this report that we with management. They looked at the recommendations and they put together a collective action plan so that council knows what their intentions are going forward, so that next year when we come back, we can say that those recommendations have been issued and they're no longer. And that's basically it. Any questions?
I noticed at the end, I guess the last couple of pages, there's some, what did you call it? Material and significant, like discrepancies, and when I read them, they appear to be more technical in terms of accounting procedures rather than any indication of misuse of money. Am I interpreting that correctly?
Yeah, there was no misuse of money. Basically, the software that's being used is very difficult to work with, so there were adjustments from the prior year that needed to be put into this year's books and records to make the reconciliation process go. So that's a recommendation for next year, to take any of the entries that we have for this year that we propose that management agrees with, post them to the ledger before the auditors come back and do the audit this year. And the two other recommendations also have to do with basically maintaining the property and equipment schedule, and basically putting some, there's like long-term debt, you have to put that in as well as software. So we talked about that, they agreed that they will be doing that going forward.
Thank you. Any other questions?
I just have a question about page 52 of your report, the last finding. In looking at our system, is it even possible to do, and talking to the city management, is it possible to even reconcile? So just for the public, I'll say that during the audit for 2022, they noted that the city's management does not reconcile the due from to account balance between the funds. So can you speak to the, is that possible at all?
Yeah, so what happens is occasionally the general fund might make a payment on behalf of another fund. So on one set of books, you have a receivable, and on the other set of books, you have the corresponding payable, so that they basically net to zero. In some of the cases, it didn't actually net to zero. We had to make an adjustment to get it for tie act. Okay, it's just the way they're doing the regular, they're doing it a little different. But it's something that can be fixed, and we talked about that going forward. They're going to reconcile and look at them on a monthly basis, make sure they agree.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other? Commissioner Day.
I know you talked about the ARPA funds, but I just wanted to make it clear. So did your audit cover the approval of the ARPA funds usage?
So basically, it kind of changed. As you know, when the money first came out, they wanted to get it out to the government, but they were afraid that they wouldn't survive. Okay, so initially, what they initially thought it was going to be used for, and it ended up being that way. They basically relaxed the requirements on the funding and basically left it up to the government to use. In your particular case, management accounts decided to use it for basically salary. So $2.9 million this year is basically used to cover salaries. And there's still money available that will be used this year as well.
So just to be clear that we're completely in compliance with the ARPA
Yes.
funding.
Yes. As of 2022, yes.
Thank you.
Any questions? Okay, I will read the resolution 2023-27, a resolution to approve the fiscal year 2022 financial audit. Whereas the firm of Whitman, Giordano and Associates completed the fiscal year 22 financial audit, and the representative has reviewed the draft audit with the city council at a public meeting held on Tuesday, September 12, 2023. Now therefore be it resolved that the city council hereby approves the fiscal year 2022 financial audit. I move that we move forward on this resolution. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
I just have a comment, sorry, does it have to be, amended to include 2021 and 2022 audit?
That this was for both.
Comparative, yeah.
Oh, it's
Okay, so it's just
comparative.
2022.
So
Okay, never mind.
21 was previously audited, now you simply compare 21 and 21.
Correct.
Okay, so we're just approving 22 tonight. Okay,
Then never
anything
mind.
else? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, pass, thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to thank the staff too for all their help throughout the process.
And Mr. Day just reminded me, I forgot, I moved that we approve the treasurer's report subject to audit. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Approved. Mr. Bartel could not be with us this evening, but he did send me a few notes, so I'm going to cover the issues that he would have covered. The plans for the River Towns Festival are underway. Chesapeake City has been added, so that festival now includes 4 cities: Wilmington, the Wilmington Riverfront area, Delaware City, Chesapeake City, and Newcastle. This festival is completely organized by a firm called Event Allied. It's revenue neutral for the city. We don't have any expenses. You don't get any income from it. It just happens, you know. They take care of everything. They set everything up. They break it down at the end and they take away the trash. So we don't have overtime for our public works crews. This year, the festival will be on Saturday, October 14th. Registration begins at 8:30 and concludes at 4 o'clock. The other issues that Mr. Bartel asked me to cover were the status. He was asked last month, I believe, about the status of the dog park and the feasibility study for the upgrades to the city, security upgrades to our city office from our city architect, Lou Cameroon. And since she was responsible for both things, that was a single report from her. She was away, which is why there's been some delay in moving forward with this, but now she's back in town and working on it. The feasibility study, she's targeting a project completion by the end of this month. And as for the dog park, she met with Mr. Bartel and others to review the location, and she'll be setting up a meeting to review the draft ideas and options. She's following up on proposals to get a topographical survey done. And she hopes to have that to us shortly as well, now that she's back. Someone had asked me if Ms. Hamroon had the qualifications to look at the security updates to the audit to the office complex, since she's primarily an architect. And I asked about that, and yes, her training is as an architect, but she works with a firm called Tetra Tech, which does have expertise in security matters, and they have other staff members who handle those kinds of things. So she will be working with her colleagues to coordinate the security issues with the architectural issues and proceeding with preparing this draft proposal. So don't know that does anybody have any questions about those issues? I could at least take them to Mr. Bartel when he returns.
The only question I have is, I think at the last meeting, we talked about it, and I think that he had said that he was waiting for the trustees to finalize like an MOU for the dog park. And I was just
And I
curious
don't
about
know
that.
if that's happened. I see Mr. Toner in the audience. Mr. Toner, do you know if that MOU is completed between the city and the trust regarding the dog park at the Hermitage property?
Our original was mailed over to.
Okay, so it's
Mr. Taylor.
in the works. Thank you.
And can I add to that update actually, because I emailed Mr. Bartel earlier.
Sure.
In August. So when I emailed about status of this, Mr. Bartel said, you know, that what Ms. Sada just read, but on top of that, he said, once they get a site plan, they can then start getting pricing and start getting quotes. So just to kind of clarify and add to that process. So there's a couple of steps that follow that. So they can get, you know, quotes and start the process of that as well. But the MOU was not mentioned at all, so I just assumed that was already completed. So thank you, Mr. Attorney.
Okay, I think that's it. Chief McCabe.
Thank you. I should be relatively brief. I don't know if there's any questions on the report. It should be posted to the website by tomorrow. Three quick topics. First, I know earlier I had mentioned that we were looking to hire a clinician through a grant for a co-responder program. We've submitted our grant. We're waiting for approval, but we have verbal approval that it's going to be accepted. So we've already met and interviewed with the clinician, who's going to be a good fit for us. So our goal was to have this started October 1st. I don't see that happening. There's a lot of it that we have to get through before we actually get the funds start to flow. But we feel good that by the end of the year, we should have this program up and running. So we're excited about that. We are entering our third year where we're due to be re-accredited. September 15th is our 3-year anniversary. We, along with every other agency that's accredited now, has been given a 90-day grace period because of the lack of accreditation management from the state level. So there's been nobody that's been able to come up to kind of keep us or help make sure that we're compliant annually. Now, we are doing that, and we feel comfortable that we are. But the fact that we haven't had an actual state assessor come look at our stuff in a while, it's given us the 90-day grace period. So again, we're hoping for end of the year, first of the next year, to be able to go through the assessment and then be issued our reaccreditation if all things go well. So the next couple of weeks are going to be pretty busy building file, getting our place ready. And I think that's it.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any questions for the chief? All right, thank you, sir. And now I'm going to jump again in the agenda and ask the mayor to give her report, and she has the proclamations to cover, which we'll have done all together. Is that okay?
Yep. It's my honor to participate in this council meeting as the newly elected mayor of Chicago. This month has not only been hot, but busy. We completed the Turn the Towns Teal. Thank you, Mr. Zoll and Mr. Tabaka, for participating in that event, and along with Representative Myra Brown. Mickey Fest raised over $25,000 for the Sarasota Boat, etc. That was excellent. The Google Fire Company boat ramp, grand opening and ribbon cutting. The grand opening of the new thrift shop at First Baptist Church, where it was my honor to cut the ribbon. And the 350th anniversary of the Newcastle County Proclamation and Celebration that took place today on the green. I've approached members of City Council about scheduling community outreach days where myself and 2 members of council will schedule a day and time to be set up in a neighborhood to be available for chat with residents. We can't have all of the council members at the violation of the sunshine law, so they will be 2 at a time. Availability and weather will certainly be a factor, and date and times will be noticed in the weekly Facebook page. The weekly, if we have enough time to get it out there. City topics, the city Facebook page, and when it's back on track, and my own Facebook page. That's I've provided to City Council, and some of you may have it. While I was out working on trying to get attention drawn to the Route 9 flooding in just north of the city, 3 cities to the police station. It was interesting to learn how we have been redistricted. We all have kind of been under the impression that the entire city of Newcastle is under the auspices of Senator Ford and Representative Brown. On the first page, like I said, some of you have, you will see District 12, which is actually Senator Ford's entire district. Page 2 on the back, you will see where the district line split between Senator Ford, which is south of the line, and Senator Brown, which is north of the line. And it goes right there along Broadside. Which is pretty interesting. For House districts, on page 3, you'll see District 16 and District 17. And then on the back, you will see where District 16 and 17 district lines are done. And again, Representative Minor Brown in the south and Representative Frank Cook in the north. And like Representative Frank Cook handles Washington Park and other areas north, and Minor Brown, it really just cuts through the city. So this is important because we need to be able to address all of these people, Senator Brown and Ford, Representatives Minor Brown and Cook, for all issues in the city, and really draw them in to what we are doing and how we may utilize their expertise to move ahead with certain items. I also, in the meantime, Senator Corbett referred me to Kevin Donnelly, who is the district coordinator for the Newcastle Conservation District. And I requested to meet with him. And I'm happy to have a couple council members accompany when that time comes along. He was provided with the photos that. Yeah, I thought I saw you earlier. With the photos that Mr. Emery provided us at the last meeting, the area that was previous 40 years ago had ditches and tributaries which helped with the drainage, and now that is completely run over. So we're still pushing forward. I'll now move on to a couple of proclamations. The first proclamation is commemorating the 236th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States, which has been requested last year and this year by the Patel and Reed Chapter DAR. And I'd like Lori Lorenz to come forward to accept this proclamation. Proclamation commemorating the 236th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America, and declaring the week of September 17th through the 23rd as Constitution Week in the city of Newcastle. Whereas it is a privilege and duty of the American people to commemorate the 236th anniversary of the drafting of the Constitution of the United States of America with appropriate ceremonies and activities. And whereas public law 916 guarantees the issuing of a Constitution each year by the President of the United States of America, designating September 17th through 23rd as Constitution. Now therefore I, Valerie Leary, by the virtue of authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Newcastle, do hereby proclaim the week of September 13th through 23rd as Constitution and urge all citizens study the Constitution and reflect on the privilege of being an American with all rights and responsibilities which that privilege involves. In witness thereof, I have sworn to set my hand and cause the seal of the city to be attended the 12th day of September of the year of our Lord 2023.
Ms. Leary, I'm sorry, I didn't catch the name of the person.
Oh, this is Lori, Lorenz, L-O-R-E-N-C. It's Lori, L-A-U-R-I-T.
And she's with the DAR.
She is with the Patel and Reed chapter of the DAR.
Thank you.
Very well. This is a proclamation celebrating Bridgewater Julia, 140th anniversary. How many of you purchased jewelry there? I mean, my wedding ring is like, because of the redesign. Whereas the city of Newcastle takes great pride in celebrating Bridgewater Jewelers for their 140th year anniversary. And whereas it indicates that Bridgewater Jewelers is a local family-owned and operated business here in Newcastle. And is also the oldest family-owned and operated jewelry store in the country. And whereas Bridgewater Jewelers has built a solid reputation for 140 years by providing personal assistance to thousands of customers to meet their special and unique needs. And whereas Bridgewater Jewelers has survived challenges brought on by economic downturns and a consistently changing business environment while providing services to its customers. And whereas Bridgewater Jewelers could not have accomplished any of this without its dedication to excellence by the 5 generations family, James Johnson Bridgewater founded, Francis Edward Bridgewater, William Burton Bridgewater, Clay and Alice Bridgewater, and Mary Bridgewater. And whereas Bridgewater Jewelers will continue to serve customers from the city, county, and state for generations to come. Now therefore, I, Valerie Leary, Mayor of the City of Newcastle, Delaware, do hereby recognize the 140th anniversary of Bridgewater Jewelers and wish the company continued success in the future. That is all.
All right, does anyone have any questions for the mayor? Okay, thank you.
Oh, sorry, just Ms. Mayor, if I could be included in that meeting, that would be great, unless there's already 2 people.
Okay, now we'll kind of get back into the normal, flow of the meeting. The next on the agenda is council communications. Mr. Jack.
Yeah, just a few things. So I have been working with Councilperson Souter on, the AV equipment for here in the, senior center. We did meet with the vendor. They sent us a preliminary estimate, but, are still waiting for, the price of a couple pieces of equipment. So we are moving forward with that. I did attend the, reopening of the Goodwill boat ramp. I also attended the 350th anniversary of Newcastle County proclamation today on the green. And one of the other things that was in the report from last meeting, it would be nice if we could have an update on the bandstand. I know at the last meeting, they had said that stage 2 manufacturing was recommended for their expertise. And I just kind of want to keep that moving forward. We have the ARPA money to do it. If we should try, try and get it done.
I noticed that when I reviewed the minutes from the last month's meeting, and I'm going to try something new. I'm going to start an action list. And that way, next month, we can hopefully tick all those boxes. So at the end, I'll collect anything else you want to add, or if you think of it as go along, I can add it. And then we can make sure we try to cover that next month. I don't have an answer. I know the supervisor was working on it and trying to get some information from various companies. And he said he was going to be meeting with the production company, I guess, in the sense of getting a user's perspective of what the standards are there.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Sparta.
That's a great idea for the list, by the way. Appreciate it. I already talked about dog parks, so I'm just gonna skip that. I'm gonna also skip the playground. I have provide a comment, very exciting comment later, so I'm very glad that she's here. I will also just want to make an announcement that I'm starting a newsletter. And starting tomorrow, you'll be able to sign up to it at nermanzubaka.com. So don't go in today, it's just gonna go to my Facebook page. I know that you guys are all eager to go to learn about that I have. So it's gonna be kind of mix of, some of my notes, ideas, but initiatives as well as our community events. And hopefully promoting some of the residents in town. Next item is elections and voting. I'm kind of been engaging with, Mr. Bartel to, see how we can increase the, voter turnout and, you know, I wanted to suggest, I have some of my ideas, but I wanted to kind of see what has been proposed in the past, you know, tried in the past. One of them, you know, I was trying to, go about, you know, making sure that we inform all the residents about location, time, you know, how they can, you know, vote in person versus absentee. And then as well, you know, reach out to those people who are not registered as well, so they can also have information where to register as well. One thing that I have spoken to Mr. Martel as well is he assured me that this will be done in future. Is I asked to provide training for all the new members of Planning Commission, Board of Adjustment, as well as the Historic Area Commission. So I've spoken to several members of the city as well as several folks on the commissions. You know, some of the feedback that I've received is, you know, like, it would be great to, you know, be able to make decisions in these meetings, but also have the training prior to having those, you know, tough decisions. So they're kind of equipped with the knowledge and, you know, at hand. So initially I was thinking about, you know, try to put this as a resolution so that it's kind of within 30 or 60 days, but then speaking to Mr. Martel, offerings of the courses and stuff would be a little difficult to, you know, realize after the person has been sworn in, because it doesn't always happen in, you know, academic year, perhaps for the university courses. So that will be kind of discretion at the city. In kind of similar kind of line, I have also brought a proposal, and then this might come to the next city council meeting, I'm not sure, to change the charter to add attendance to committees and boards. Currently, we have attendance to the city council and mayor, which is kind of like 3 meetings a year or 3 consecutive meetings. You know, you can, there's of course, you know, if there's health issues or something like that, people can, you know, have time to explain what happened if they want to continue serving. But I propose some similar language that we already have about that, to, you know, for that to be basically make those positions vacant if people are not able to come to the meetings. I'm also kind of in a very exploratory. Some of the parts of my campaign was about environment and sustainability, and one of the things that I kind of came across and reached out to Mr. Patel and Tree Commission was this article that I read at New York Times about kind of native plants. A project that some other cities are doing across the world, actually, and the idea is basically create these little kind of forests that are just native plants that, you know, after 3 years of maintaining them, they become self-sustainable. I thought it was a great idea, you know, kind of how you can beautify some of the areas that perhaps, you know, need that beautification, but also, you know, take away from city resources later on. But also there's a lot of benefits, basically, you know, fresh air and all that stuff. So very exploratory. I have no idea where this is going to go, but just wanted to kind of share with everybody. Another thing was that was brought up to me was about public safety and, you know, in general, kind of change of inner city culture to pedestrian kind of culture and priority. I have requested to add, you know, from Mr. Bartel to add signage around yielding to pedestrians or crossing of 6th Street and Delaware Avenue. As I heard some complaints about, you know, difficulties crossing that street with the stop signs being the regulators of the traffic instead of the traffic light. So, and I thought that was a good point. I do actually like stop signs being there, but actually never occurred to me that, you know, adding maybe signs to, you know, yielding to pedestrians might be good. So hopefully we can, you know, kind of center the city to be pedestrian oriented in general. So we'll see what kind of ideas come from that. Similar to what Ms. Mayor mentioned was around flooding. I'm going to be meeting with Mr. Bartel and I think Jeff at the end of September to explore kind of resources available to the city to prepare for the next big rain or storm, or in general, kind of to prepare our city for the long term. So, Ms. Mayor, if you want to attend that meeting as well, it's kind of good to have similar ideas that you were talking about as well. I'll include you on communications. And then, so next point is, and sorry for lengthy communication update from me, but I'm on a parental leave. It's another note. So we had a baby board on August 10th. So this is personal note, but Benjamin was born August 10th. So 2 days after the last city council meeting. So we had a special council meeting, but not a regular council meeting. So, there's a newest member to the town. We're really Lizzie was excited to be with 2 kids tonight at home by herself. So traffic is the next one, and I know that, you know, this is one of the concerns I've heard the most throughout my campaigning, as well as, you know, being a resident here. And then also as I've kind of been elected as a council member, I've had an exploratory stage of how we can address the beach traffic over the weekend, Friday through Sunday. So I have some ideas on my own, but I want to see what, I know that some of the streets, that 6th and 7th Street in particular, those streets that basically are impacted the most are state-owned streets. So I don't know how much really we can do, but I want to make sure that we're pushing the right direction and asking the right questions so that, you know, we're not just happy with what's happening right now. So one of the ideas I had was, you know, try to see if we can have a local traffic only on the weekend coming through the city. I don't know if it's going to fly people, but, you know, just know that I'm going to be trying to make sure that we have less traffic coming through the city. And then just something worth noting, thank you to Mr. Rattel and Jeff, an issue was brought up about the street signage and a painting of the crosswalk on the pedestrian crossing on 2nd and Delaware, right next to the trustees building where the Wheatley is located. So other side of that, if you're looking at the Wheatley office to the right side there, that crossing is not, you know, painted in yellow, so there are cars parked there, so you can't really, you know, finish the, you know, walking on the street there and kind of go around the cars. So they're scheduling that job, and that's going to be done shortly, hopefully. One update was about Facebook and communications that I was talking to the town, but this was amazing, this update, so I have nothing to say there. I'm really excited about all the changes being done there. Before I go into events, which is going to close out my thing, I really just wanted to thank you to Bridgewater. We had a wedding that was happening 3 days notice to everybody, and it was in Newcastle in my apartment on 4th Street in our condo there, and our family loved that. It was Christmas, December 23rd, and we're like, we need rings. Bridgewater provided on a very short notice, rings, measuring out, you know, fingers and stuff. Thank you guys so much for your, you know, you guys are a community pillar and, you know, an example of, you know, what our society, you know, looks like in Newcastle. So thank you for everything you guys do for our community. So events I just wanted to promote on top of some of the events that were already promoted is the block party that's going to be benefiting Senior Center. It's going to be at the Battery Park. Most of these events will be at the Battery Park, so I'm not going to repeat the ones that are. I'll just say the ones that are not there. It's on September 24th at 3 p.m. I would just urge you to reach out to staff at the Mercury if you have any questions or want to, you know, sit at the table, you know, buy tickets, bring your own food. There's options, bring your food, and, you know, as well as ordering. That there's Hauntings and History Tours that starts on October 13th, but I figure because next meeting is coming up early October as well, you know, mention this as well. Then on September 29th, just Movies in the Park, Master and Commander, The Far Side of the World. I hope with this nice weather that I'll see a lot of you guys there as well. And then 52nd Annual Art in the Green is on 23rd at 10 a.m. So hopefully we see a lot of people there as well. Seems to be a busy day. And then opera, this was something cool I saw the other day, on the 17th at 2 p.m. Battery. So this will be exciting. I'm going to bring my chair and enjoy. I'm not going to sing. And then urge you to check library's website. They have a lot of events, so I'm not going to go mention through that. So there are a lot of events pretty much every day in the month of September. And basically that is, oh yeah, last thing is, sorry guys, I want to thank Mayor Leary for her efforts in engaging with communities. I'm looking forward to going to communities and talking to people about concerns and seeing what, you know, what can be done to better quality of life for everybody. Thank you guys.
Hey, Mr. Bell.
I do like the idea of that listing. It would be great if we get added on there, separation even. Something about the accounting of what occurred for separation day, and also how we can, as council, get more involved, more volunteers. Seems to be a little like. I know we have a third party that seems to do much stuff. I think people would help out.
Well, frankly, I would help with that some, and the problem was not having enough people to volunteer, which is why we had to go to a professional organizer.
That's all I have.
Okay. I have a couple of things. Last month, I mentioned that I was proposing an ordinance to make some changes on our election procedures. Once we knew we needed to have a special election in early November. I did not move forward with that because Delaware law says you can't change the rules about an election within 60 days of the election. So we're gonna have to go with what we've got for now and then work on it afterwards, when hopefully we won't have another election until 2025. And I wanted to offer congratulations to Councilperson Subaka and his wife Elizabeth for the birth of their son Benjamin. And finally, I wanted to thank Dr. Roy Sipple for his many years of service as a commissioner of the Municipal Services Commission. He stepped down and we'll be having an item on the agenda in a bit to appoint a replacement. Dr. Sipple did a lot of work for that, and that helped all of us. You know, we have pretty good electric service and so on, and we're glad for his work on that. So that's all I have for that. The next thing is public comments. There's a sheet to sign in on the podium, and I'd like to remind you that each person has 3 minutes. Mr. Zelt will be keeping time for us.
Terry Buchanan, from the 132nd. In response to claims from last council meeting, I filed 2 FOIA requests. One, I asked for the logs of when Ms. Leary's previous council email was accessed last. And unfortunately, I was told that that would require special programming. I did include the technology company and associates in that FOIA request. They didn't respond. But my understanding from working in technology for many years is that your Exchange server has compliance management auditing, and you have to keep that for 3 years minimum. And so there are logs where these things can be treated. So I would like council to look into that and maybe put it on that action plan that Ms. Saudi about. The other thing I asked for was the amount of legal expenditures that city council or any member of council or the administrator, whoever in the city, had approved against Ms. Leary, because I was told I was printing logs. And I was also told that you cannot get an exact figure. I'm confused about that because I've worked for attorneys and I know they're meticulous about how they charge their time, typically in 6-minute increments with what they did for each client, each issue, and exactly what they did. So I'm simply asking that that you all look into that. And if I have another half a minute left, is it possible to list the commissioners on the city website as well as mayor and council? I think that would be really helpful. Is it there? I might have missed it.
Like the members of the planning and PAC and so forth.
Yeah. I'm sure it is. I just honestly didn't see it. I couldn't find it.
I don't know if they're on there or not, but we can find out.
Okay. Do I have any time left? There's one parking space that used to be beside 201 and 203 Delaware, and when they redid the streets, they didn't repaint that spot. So people feel like they're parking illegally when they park there because it used to be a spot. Can we look into that?
In 201 and 203, sir?
201 to 203. Actually, it's beside 203. It's more in front of 203, which is not my office anymore. It has moved, by the way, from 203 to 201.
So they were not painted
They were painted, and then when, I don't know if it's Cyril or when they redid the streets,
after
they
they
did
painted,
paint
that
them.
they didn't repaint.
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Suzanne Smith, 16 West 4th Street, and I'd like to tell everybody about the playground. So the playground equipment was completed, the installation of the equipment was completed in that. I'd like to thank so many people in this room who were instrumental in making this happen, from council to mayor to residents to Sure, thank you. We'd like to have a ribbon cutting ceremony sometime soon, so maybe that's something that we can discuss with council. We just, definitely the seed money that Senator Ford gave us started the ball rolling, and of course, Lizzie will help to secure that funding. It was really good. There are two more things that we have to do before we can open up the playground to everybody. The first one we're looking to do tomorrow, which is put the board in. We had run out of money, so the playground committee decided to do it ourselves, but we're looking for volunteers to help us. They're looking plastic, they're very lightweight, they order it out and tap in and fight. So if you know somebody who wants to get out there, it's gonna be a little muddy tomorrow, but you know, hopefully we can finish up at the end of the day. And then once the borders are in, we have a multiple and we roll it back 8 to 3 days. So optimistically, we'll open this weekend, pessimistically next week. The little of the audience is coming really, really soon. So, and thank you everybody again. And I look forward to seeing you at the ribbon cutting hopefully within the next couple.
My name is Bartlett Harrison from 928 Young Street in Shawtown. I've just been listening to a couple of things that you guys are saying, and you guys are all talking about Facebook. In Shawtown, there's no people there. If you want to reach these people, you have to go to their door. So if, like your comment about you guys coming out, putting it on Facebook or putting it in the weekly, put it in the electric bill. They read their electric bill. I look forward to reading that thing every month in my electric bill. So if you're gonna do that, put it in the electric bill. I mean, that's just my opinion, because there are not many people that come out of it. And I just need to hook up with the chief sometime, because I'm just trying to figure out what the law is of smoking marijuana in front of your house. It makes me deathly ill. It really does. So I'm just, if you could touch base with me on that, and just to let you know, Young Street is not a state street. It's not a state street, right? And we have people fly down that street on Friday afternoon, they're trying to get away from the beach traffic. So that's all I got.
My name is Vinny Deal, 26th Strand. We've got some questions relative to some incidents which have occurred in the city over the last, I would say, month or so. I understand, number one, that there was a lynching or a public hanging that occurred in back of BJ's 3 weeks ago. Homeless area back here. Second incident, I happened to see with my wife as we were driving on Sunday morning about 2 weeks ago, 10 o'clock in the morning. We were turning on the Route 273 from Delaware Street. On the right-hand side by Walgreens, there was a police car, and at least one policeman talking to 52 people. On the opposite side of the street, just before you cross the railroad, there's a brick house with a white door. There were two policemen, two police cars, and the two policemen went up on the porch. One of them knocked on the door, and immediately both policemen went like this to the inside of the door. I think a little bit strange. I gather there's an individual in the third. There's an individual who I think a lot of us know, community, who is allowed to walk into Walgreens and smash a bread. And it doesn't seem to be any reason to retard this activity. My last issue is one that I haven't preserved, a friend of mine, neighbor has preserved. And that is a group of people in Battery Park, who are launching Skylands. And if you won't know what a Skylander is, it's basically a paper lantern with a sterno stove in it. And so they're beautiful, they go up the air, they go in the right direction of the ringer, that's fine. And we had a fire in Newcastle 200 years ago. And if these things come the other way and land on something's roof, there are going to be problems. And so I think these people were apprehended, but I don't think there were any tickets given out. I don't know what the police department's reaction to that was. I do know that in this particular situation, it was when the Calmer Nickel was down at the wharf, and one of the lanterns just grazed the top mast of the Calmer Nickel. So that's something that has definitely got to be looked into. So the question is, if none of these incidents have been reported, why? We all want the city to be safe.
Your time is up.
My family. Is this a safe city for visitors? And we say yes. But is it? So I'd like to have some answers from city council.
Nabil, thank you. Your time
I'm
is up.
sorry, your 3 minutes are up.
Get no answer.
Well, we don't generally respond in the middle of the meeting, no, sir. It's not to say never, but not at this moment.
First, I'd like to congratulate you on everything so as a man, it's really good job. Second, I find it interesting how thorough Weebly is when it comes to investigating everything, but when it comes to her thoroughness in reporting and fairness in reporting, it seems like she picks and chooses. So I'd say, you know, check out Mr. Alexander's thing and what council's proposing. Since our city likes committees and likes our city the way it is, I highly recommend that we put together a commission. I'm making recommendation, I'll email it to you. Standard in building. Do we want in the center of our square a group that sells CBD oils or tattoos or things like that? Is that conducive to the charm and what our city stands for? So I firmly believe that I'm asking that you could put together a committee on that. Wilmatco, I find it interesting that you bring up flooding and traffic. Wilmatco, when I was on the committee, had many meetings in person and over the internet. Decisions were made. Council never acted on them. They're ready to go. So again, I urge council, instead of focusing on everything but, you know, stop the building for now. Get these issues that you brought up resolved. And just do it as a moratorium. It can be done if you want to. The city residents deserve it. Thank you.
Rob Miller, East Third Street. Before I say what I wanted to say, I learn something every day. Can I understand correctly that people that serve on our volunteer committees currently do not have to take any type of continuing education classes?
It's not required to have a professional development. It's all, as it currently charter states, that it's out of the code. So like, out of the person's pocket. So there's professional development money that these committees use for entire group. but it doesn't always happen when people become members. So I'm trying to have it as part of the onboarding.
But I will say, I do know that Board of Adjustment, when it was reconfigured, there was training given to those members. But we can't really get into too much detail right now, but
Okay, all right, I'm kind of surprised. I would think that might be even a state law. I still live in New Jersey. I know I served on combination planning zoning board for 4 years, and the housing authority board for 2 years, and that was, I thought that was like a state thing. You know, we didn't have to pay for it ourselves. You know, I don't know pay for it, so now that I think about it. Okay, I'm just surprised at that. So I highly recommend it. Get that done, for sure. Okay, now. Also, Mr. Zabaki, you were talking earlier about public safety. So I would recommend this to you and to all of you, right? If public safety is truly a priority, massive apartment complexes that we all know are being proposed. How does that fit in with public safety? In fact, while I'm on this tack, let me just go to each of you individually, okay? Because I still haven't gotten answers on this. I want to know where each of you individually stand on this. We are facing, in case those of you in the room don't know, we're facing the distinct prospect of doubling our population in the next 2 or 3 years if all of these different proposals are approved, which today is just mind-boggling, considering we already have a couple big apartment complexes coming in. So all I want to know here and now for the record, each of you, we'll start with Andrew.
I'm
here.
sorry, Mr. Miller, that's not the purpose of public comment. That this was discussed during the election campaign.
Okay,
Express your
it's gonna
opinion.
continue to be discussed,
Of
okay?
course, but-
Because this is astonishing to me. It just is. And since I've lived here, I haven't complained really about very many things, hardly anything. You know, nothing real serious until the last about 16 months or so. However long it's been, maybe not quite that long. That little over a year ago. And I just find this amazing that we're looking to double the amount of cars on the road when you were talking about ways to, you know, fight back against all this traffic. And I just don't get how that could possibly tie into this. Okay, it just seems to be totally incongruous with that whole concept. Okay, I hope everybody in the room understands this too. Okay, I don't complain about it very much, but this is astounding to me. And this is one thing in a couple of years' time, with all this comes
Miller,
out,
your time is
like
up.
some people want it to come out, this is something that will make me leave the city.
Thank you, Mr. Miller.
Brian Mataway, I was at $28. September 14th, 2022, I stood before this podium and this audience and affirmed the tenets of life that I've sought to teach my son Caleb. There were 3 simple yet complex words: legacy, faith, and purpose. A portion of the message read as follows: good, bad, or different, you will be remembered by those who cross your path. You may never know how much your words, actions, or deeds encourage, discourage a person. Dare to be extraordinary, not ordinary. Only what you do for others to laugh. If you want better, do better. At the time, it seemed like something we all could do as we consider strategic initiatives in the direction of our city. 1 year later, I had a second son, Malachi. As a parent, teacher, and guide, and not just speak to your children, but those who you're trying to influence in a positive way. In this particular instance, I have to show that I want better, and therefore, if I want better, I have to do better. Neighbors and friends, I was talking to myself and didn't even know it. It's appropriate that I stand at this podium 1 year later and say that I will be standing to humbly seek the opportunity to serve on our beloved community as a city council person in November. This is absolutely a call that I have in my life. Not running, standing. Standing my ground on the front line, because this is my home, which I love dearly. Standing for justice and peace. Standing for my children and your children. Standing for seniors. standing for all neighborhoods, standing for working families, standing to be a servant leader and to put my shoulder by the side, standing to listen, standing to learn and to partner, standing for first responders, standing for city employees, standing for all in our business community. Yes, indeed, I will be standing for all new taxes. That's so little and tall. Thank you.
Hey, good evening, council. Is my time starting now? Very good, thank you. I had 3 minutes prepared, it was actually a little bit over, and I texted a few of, the council people. I'll be quick. I'm asking for the people in the room. I've said the number to some people and they almost find it incredible. 1,800 apartments. I'm not counting what's here now. I'm talking about what's proposed. 1,800. So when you ask what that number is, what is it? It's 451 of them. It's the little projects like George's 24, it's Cirillo Brothers 27. It's the 180 at the Byway Livings. It's already approved. All those are already approved. The 391 that's behind the Wilmington Fiber Mill has just been presented. And then who knows what's coming right here. I heard rumors of stuff. So that's all. Just take it back, write it. I would ask council, please don't answer people that we have to continue to say yes. When 682 haven't even been built yet. Any traffic study, any survey, anything is not going to be relevant. When potentially there's another 1,400 cars right there at 7th and South. That's all I got. Is that accurate, Max? I mean, is there anything that can be done?
I'm gonna have to take this on a one project by one project basis.
Good. Thank you.
Anthony Westberg. I came with 2 questions to add some more, but one got answered thanks to her. My daughter is in the playground. I'll start with what I added. The parking for the electric cars and the new parking lot, the painting is wrong. That we're gonna get fixed. Because the spots for the green lines are painted for when it should be green, and then when the spot is green and it's white. I don't know if that's anything that you guys prepare. Piggybacking off of Nerman, the self-sustaining garden after 3 years. What about community gardens that you have in Europe where people rent square footage of plant gardens for those backyards like rent? And add beauty and add income to the community. I have no idea where we actually do this, but just as a first idea. And then the actual question I came with. I have a friend that removes trees, and he was gonna come down so his kids could play with my daughter, and we were gonna clean up the beach some, just because that's what his student does. We weren't doing it for money, just to make it prettier. But I was told that I could be like arrested or something if I tried to take wood out of the beach. I just want to make sure that I wouldn't, if we just started it. Because we would take it out, obviously, because there's a tree that's on the beach right now, literally. That just washed up on it.
Don't know the answer to that, because I think the DENRAC probably has jurisdiction. That's my guess off the top of my head.
But that's all I really had.
Oh. Okay, are there any other? All right, thank you. Then moving on with the agenda. Okay, the next item is, Mr. Day, council discussion of City of Newcastle transportation plans prepared by Will Map.
Thank you. I just wanted to bring this up and have a discussion in front of council. Well, NAPCO, I think, did a great job with the transportation plan that they proposed. The city council, voted on it last year. But I kind of wanted to bring it up because I want to talk about moving forward. One of the things that I continue to hear, and as we heard somewhat tonight, is about cut through traffic to the city. If you look at the executive summary in this report, it talks about redesigning streets and intersections to reduce speeding and cut through traffic while improving pedestrian safety. I think we need to come up with a plan so that we start working with DelDOT to start implementing this. Now, I know DelDOT is implementing one of the intersections at Delaware Street and Ferry Cutoff, but I think we also need to start looking at Sixth and Chestnut, and the other intersections that are in the plan. So I'm not sure if this would entail an initial meeting with, another meeting with Romapco, or if we should be just going to DelDOT directly. So my guess is we should be meeting with Romapco in the interim, and then planning a meeting with DelDOT to get the funding. Some of these things, some of the improvements in here were slated as long-term, and I understand it may take a while, but if we don't start now, we're not going to get them. I'm finished, I'm sorry. Hey, yep.
I love the whole plan. I read every single page. I can't wait for every single time. You know, implement it. Not just, for cars, but also pedestrians, bikes, it really is a comprehensive plan. And, the reason I was bringing up the traffic ideas was to kind of, with the signage that I was talking about is in because I just know that these projects that are proposed in Romapco won't happen anytime soon, unfortunately, right? It would be amazing to have them done within a year, right? But, DelDOT priority is not necessarily Castle, or all of the projects from our plan. So that was just the idea behind that, just to do something on the weekend traffic there. But I'm all for the push the pedal to figure out, how can we push the timeline of these projects? How can we jumpstart everything that will go that timeline so that, we have funding as well as, project managers working on this. I'm trying to figure it out next week. I would love to be, included.
I was just gonna add, maybe we could go through the plan and try and get some priorities, and we can break it down and then do project by project, either DelDOT funding or maybe some of the even smaller projects we may be able to fund to improve pedestrian safety, cut through traffic, whatever we do. But I do think it's something we need to be on top of the agenda.
I would encourage everybody to read the plan. It truly is, some great recommendations there where they explain not only what was kind of recommended, but also the other options that were considered so that you can see, pros and cons of all those recommendations. So you can say, oh, why was this not? That so you can kind of see the rationale behind.
Definitely. So I think we need to look a little Romapco actually has, especially with the flooding situation, with all the potential apartments, the ones that have been through. We get shut down and we have flooding. We need to do something about fixing that flooding area on like south there. And then last time we also had flooding on Cara, very cut off. Here we get it. That we've never had. So that just put a complete standstill in our community. So if the rain keeps getting bad and we keep flooding, we need to bring these to the top to get these addressed because, yes, we have apartments coming. We know they're coming. We definitely have this traffic, but we need to address those situations. Otherwise, we're just going to get shut down again with all this flooding.
So I do think Route 9 south of Dobbinsville should be going out to contract in the fall through DelDOT. So that should take care of the flooding there. But I do agree with you wholeheartedly about Sixth and Chestnut. But I think if we look at, implementing Will Mapco's plan, we can address flooding in the area as well at the same time, kind of kill two birds with one stone. Whether we can do that with the sea level rise committee or it's just DelDOT, but we might be able to do that together. Would be a huge benefit.
Well, and it's also possible working with, Ms. Leary has already initiated contact with the Capital Conservation District about clearing out those ditches. That may be temporary, but at least it would help while we develop further longer range plans. My understanding of the Wilmapco plan was once council approved it, then Wilmapco advances that to DelDOT and they look at putting it on their schedule because of course DelDOT money has to be spread throughout the state. So we of course think Newcastle is the most important place in the world, but you know, the people in Middletown think they're the most important place in the world, and Milford and Rehoboth and Seaford and all those places. So DelDOT has to balance all those needs. But if things are changing here because of the increased flooding, maybe that could help us get bumped up on the schedule. So, and with maybe work with Senator Poore and our representatives and so on.
Yep. I just wanted to bring it up and open it up for discussion,
Sure.
make sure we're all, at least, you know, cognizant of the plan and move forward with this plan.
Just to back up on what Councilperson Day said, Mr. Pappas from DelDOT has confirmed that the packaging is being put together after bid for this fall. And that the paving on South Route 9 will likely happen next spring.
Okay, let's see. Any other comments on this topic?
I would just, because of the, I think 70-something pages of the plan, right? Could we put this on the next meeting agenda to discuss the priority projects so that we have a little, and I would urge the public to read this through because it would be awesome to get everybody's feedback on, not just what we think is a priority for the town, but also for you guys to come and say, what are these, you know, proposed, plans that we have, you know, in the Wilmapco plan, would be kind of, you know, ordered in, you know, some sort of clearly one project's already on the way, so we can kind of have next steps for the other projects as well. That's something we can, I don't know how to honestly propose it for the next council meeting.
Well,
So we're not discussing it here because I think it would be not fair to the public as well.
I don't know how many copies we have of that, or if we get more from Wilmapco, make it available to the public, and then have a conversation.
You know, and this is on Will Mapco's website, and I'll see if we can put it on our website, but I can also bring copies or, distribute copies.
Thank you.
All right, the next item. And make sure we didn't miss anything because I move things around here. Okay, next item is a resolution, as we heard tonight from the Playground Committee. They've done a great job and the new playground is almost ready to go. It turns out that their original term has ended and they've asked to be re-up, so to speak, so for council to approve the extension of the work of this committee for another year. Yeah. Yeah. So I will, do I have a motion to read resolution 2023-28, extending the time of the playground?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Resolution 2023-28, a resolution extending the term of the playground committee. Whereas the city council adopted resolution 2022-18, establishing the playground committee for the purpose of researching the feasibility of designing and financing the construction of a newly renovated children's playground at Battery Park. And whereas resolution 2022-18 provided that the playground committee would continue only through June 14th, 2023. And whereas the work of the playground committee at Battery Park is not yet completed, not quite. And whereas the city council also desires the playground committee to work with the residents of the neighborhood surrounding the other city-owned playgrounds in Newcastle to research the feasibility of designing and financing improvements to these playgrounds. Now, therefore, it is hereby resolved that the city council extends the term of the playground committee until June 14th, 2024. Is there any discussion?
I just have one question.
Yes.
Why is it not longer than interested for 2 years? Yeah, lots of departments. Areas of potential.
I discussed it with Ms. Swift, and this is kind of what we came up with. We can
Okay.
always renew it for another year, right? So this doesn't mean that it can't be renewed again, if that's what's needed. If we keep doing it too long, then we have to get into how long their terms can be and those kinds of issues.
If I may, I would just urge residents to also reach out to Suzanne. Sorry, Suzanne, if you're, but I don't think so, but, expressing your interest in serving on the subcommittee. Since we're trying to expand the scope of the, playground subcommittee to, other playgrounds as well, so that we can substitute perhaps some of the members that may want to step down. And sorry if I'm stepping, I think we talked about it in one of our meetings, so that you can take a leadership role on some of these projects as well. And if you're not willing to, step on and work with the subcommittee, provide your ideas, right? So try to be, come to the meeting, send an email. What would you like to see in your, playground? And then, we found out that kids have the best recommendations when we were having stakeholder engagement meetings. So if you have kids or grandkids, please ask them as well and reach out back to us. That would be really helpful, because a lot of these times, all the ideas that we had for Battery came through these meetings with the community. So that's kind of the blueprint that we want to have for every other playground, so that people in that community is happy with what they're seeing, because they were the ones who provided the feedback.
Okay. Anything else? All right, all in favor of this resolution?
Aye.
Okay, passed. All right, the next item, Mr. Atherton's been very patient with us tonight. As I mentioned earlier, Dr. Sippel, had to resign from as a Commissioner of Municipal Services. And we have before us tonight, David Atherton has been proposed to fill out the remainder of Dr. Sippel's term. Do I have a motion to read this resolution?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay. Resolution 2023-29. A resolution making an appointment to the Municipal Services Commission. Whereas Section 1 of the Charter for the Municipal Services Commission, the MSC, states that the business and affairs of the MSC shall be managed under the direction of 3 commissioners, 2 of which shall be appointed by the city council, while the 3rd commissioner shall be the mayor of the city of Newcastle. And whereas the MSC commissioners appointed by city council shall serve 4-year terms, and whereas Commissioner Roy Sippel has resigned, thus creating a vacancy on the commission. Now therefore be it resolved that the city council hereby approves the appointment of David Atherton as an MSC commissioner to fill the remaining term of Roy Sippel, the term to end March 31st, 2026. Mr. Atherton is here tonight. He's provided us all with a resume. Did you want to make any remarks or?
No, I think we're good.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Atherton? All right, all in favor of approving this appointment?
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, and the next resolution is, Mr. Rocco will cover appointing someone to the Board of Elections.
Yes, so there is a vacancy on the Board of Elections, and it was mine appointment to make. So I just wanted to do that tonight, given the dynamics of the next elections. As noted earlier in the meeting, we'll have the motion to read this resolution.
So moved.
Second. Resolution 2023-30, a resolution approving the appointment of Adrian Delaney to the Board of Elections. Whereas the Newcastle City Charter details that the responsibility for conducting all municipal elections in the city of Newcastle shall be vested with the Board of Elections. And whereas the charter further provides that each member of city council shall appoint 1 qualified elector, who is also a resident of the city, to serve as a member of said board. And whereas there is currently a vacancy due to resignation of Susan Hager. And whereas the city council proposes to appoint Adrian Indelini to fulfill the remaining term of Susan Hager, with that term ending on January 8th, 2027. Now therefore be it resolved that the city council hereby confirms the appointment of the following to the Board of Elections. Adrian Indelini, appointed by Councilperson Zubaka, term ending January 8th, 2027. That motion, I'm sorry,
Any discussion? All in favor?
just wanted to say, Miss Indelini wasn't able to attend tonight, but will be sworn later in the week if this passes, of course.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and, Mr. Day has the next one, regarding, planning commission. Oh, yes, do I have a motion to read, ordinance? This is the first reading of an ordinance, so there'll be no no discussion tonight, and we just get it out there as to what it's about, and we're scheduling a public hearing and second reading and vote later. So, I make the motion to read this ordinance. Any second?
Second.
Your day.
Ordinance number 541, an ordinance to amend section 58.2 to dedicate one seat on the planning commission to a representative of the Goodwill Fire Company. Whereas section 58-2 of the city code governs the membership of the planning commission, including the process for appointment, the length of term, and the removal of such members. Whereas the Goodwill Fire Company is responsible for emergency response in and around the city of Newcastle, and thus offers some important perspective on appropriate planning needs and recommendations in the city. Now therefore be it ordained by the council of the city of Newcastle as follows. Section 1, section 58-2A of the city code is hereby amended and replaced in its entirety with the following, with new language identified in bold text. Said commission shall consist of 9 members to be appointed by the mayor of Newcastle, subject to confirmation by the city council of Newcastle, for a term of 3 years, excepting that the terms of the original members of the commission shall expire as indicated in subsection B hereof. Additionally, at least one of the 9 members shall be a representative of the Goodwill Fire Company as provided in subsection C hereof. Any member of the commission may be removed for cause if their public hearing is determined by resolution of city council. Vacancies occurring otherwise than by expiration of term shall be filled by appointment of the mayor, subject to confirmation by the city council. Said commission shall elect annually a chairperson and a vice chairperson from among its own number, and may employ experts, clerical, and other assistants to the extent that its fiscal appropriation shall permit. Section 2, section 58-2 of the city code is hereby amended by adding the following provision as a new subsection C. Beginning in 2024, the next available vacancy on the planning commission shall be filled by a representative of the Goodwill Fire Company, the company. Thereafter, one seat on the planning commission shall at all times be dedicated to a representative of the company. The representative of the company shall remain subject to the provisions of subsection A hereof. However, upon term expiration or removal of such member, an appropriate replacement representative of the company shall be appointed. If an appropriate representative of the company is not available to fill a vacant seat, such seat may be filled in accordance with subsection A hereof. However, the mayor and council shall make reasonable attempts to secure a representative of the company to fill the next available vacancy thereafter. Section 3, if any section, subsection, sentence, clause, or phrase of this ordinance is for any reason held to be unconstitutional or invalid, such decision shall not affect the validity of the remaining portions of this ordinance. Section 4, in the event any existing ordinances or parts of ordinances are in conflict herewith, the provisions of this ordinance shall control.
Okay, thank you. And as I said, we'll be scheduling the hearing and so forth for further action on this ordinance. Okay, and our last item is Mr. Dell, again, a first reading of an ordinance, regarding amendments to our, section on affirmative action. Do I have a motion to read this first reading of this ordinance? Second. Okay, Mr. Dell?
Ordinance number 542, an ordinance to amend chapter A 236 affirmative action dash A 236 1 and 10 and A 236 3 promotion equal opportunity programs to eliminate discrimination. Whereas the council of the city of Newcastle, city council possesses the authority to adopt, amend, modify, or repeal the city of Newcastle municipal code. Whereas chapter A 236 affirmative action is being updated to include expanded provisions based upon the current change of our community. Now, therefore, making the express finding that proposed changes outlined below enhance the health, safety, and welfare of the city of Newcastle, the city council of the city of Newcastle hereby ordains and adopts the following code changes and revisions. Section 1, section A236-1 and 10 of the city code is hereby amended and replaced in its entirety with the following, with new language identified in bold text. The city of Newcastle, recognizing the right of the individual to work, to advance on the basis of merit, ability, and potential without regard to race, sex, including pregnancy, color, handicap, religion, national origin, national ancestry, age, veteran status, gender, gender identification or expression, sexual orientation, marital status, disabilities, or any other basis prohibited by applicable law. Resolved to take affirmative action measures to ensure equal opportunity in the areas of hiring, promotion, demotion, or transfer, recruitment, layoff, or termination, rate of compensation, in-service or apprenticeship training programs, and all terms and conditions of employment. Section 2, section A236-3, promotion of equal opportunity programs to eliminate discrimination of the city code is hereby amended and replaced in its entirety with the following, with new language identified in bold text. Affirmative action requires more than vigilance in the elimination of discriminatory barriers on the grounds of race, sex, including pregnancy, color, handicap, religion, national origin, national ancestry, age, veteran status, gender, gender identification or expression, sexual orientation, marital status, disabilities, or any other basis prohibited by applicable law. It must also entail positive and aggressive measures to ensure equal opportunity programs which can affect personal practices and those programs which can affect persons outside of the city government. This affirmative action may include efforts necessary to remedy the efforts of present or past discriminatory patterns and any action necessary to guarantee equal opportunity for all people. Section 3, the consistent ordinances and resolutions repeal. All ordinances or parts of ordinance and all resolutions or parts of resolutions that may be in direct conflict within are hereby repealed. Section 4, severability. The possessions of this ordinance shall be observable. If any provisions of this ordinance are found by any court or competent jurisdictions to be unconstitutional or void, the remaining provisions of this ordinance shall remain valid. Support finds that the valid provisions of this ordinance so essentially and acceptable enacted with, so dependent upon the unconstitutional or void provision, that it cannot be presumed that city council would have enacted the remaining valid provision without the unconstitutional or void provision, unless the court finds that the remaining valid provision standing alone or incomplete and incapable of being executed in accordance with the city council's intent.
Sorry for the legalese at the end.
Okay. Mr. Walton, I know before we adjourn and I get my action list together, I had a note that we wanted to ask you about the EV parking, electronic vehicle parking places at which location, Ms. Leary, Chestnut?
At the Chestnut Street front.
But it's trust property. And the parking places have not yet been lined and the signs haven't been put up. And the question is, we understand the city needs to write a letter to the trust requesting permission to do this. And then when that permission is granted, then the city paints the lines and puts up the signs. Is that right? Or maybe that's.
I had an updated conversation with, trust member Tommy Wilson today. And a brief conversation with the chief regarding the ability to, well, first of all, they said that they are willing to put up the signs to indicate that it's EV parking only. And other verbiage, as long as the city would strike those spots because they don't have the means to strike the spots. However, there's a question on the ability of the police being allowed to enforce things on private property. And, you know, where there need to be something where the police are given authority on behalf of to enforce parking. Yes, yeah, I'll let the chief take it over now.
So, we are limited by law as to what we can enforce on private property. Respect parking violations. Typically, it's handicap, fire lane, fire hydrant. I do see in the future, even parking, maybe all of that, but it's not right now. So the issue is it's private property. So what we, in other areas of the city where we have parking lots that are private, what the entity does, is they sign it, and basically it's up to them to enforce it. So, for example, in Taco Bell, if somebody parks in Taco Bell's parking lot, with shops, it's farmers market, they see that, there's a sign up there that says, we'll tow you. They tow them, there's a name and number of the tow company there, but we don't get to know that. Something like that would need to happen here. The question that we want to research is, in some cases, private entities have given us permission to act on their behalf. But that typically only means that if we witness a crime, we don't need to necessarily make contact with them, confirm that what is happening is a crime. We're allowed to act on their behalf. Zenith is an example there of somebody's, trespassing on the property. So I don't know that a letter from the trust giving us permission to act on their behalf is going to supersede the law that limits us as to what we can enforce.
Okay, so this got more complicated than just painting lines and putting up signs.
Well, it's easy to paint lines.
Yeah, right. Okay, so it sounds like you all are working on research for that.
The first I've heard of it.
Okay, sorry,
I'll take
didn't
care
just
of it.
bring it on.
We'll look into it, okay?
Sorry, that was a conversation.
Oh, yeah, I didn't know.
No, that happened later.
Okay.
Can I just ask something, follow up to that? I'm sorry, guys, for keeping you hostage here. Chief, just so I'm understanding, so let's say a 100-year lease is signed between trust and the city there. Could it, within that lease, and maybe Max, where you go, I'm not sure. We said that, city can issue tickets there, or would that be, you're saying that that still is not something? Yeah.
I don't know the answer to your question.
Okay.
Let me see what that is.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, now, so what I have on my action list is the status of the band shell and the issue about separation. Anybody have anything to add?
Can we get back to you? Can I add to that list, but after the meeting?
Sure, just send me an email or. Okay, then do I have a motion to adjourn? Second?
Second.
So moved.
Guys.
Or